Okay, so I'm Cynthia, and I'm the host of the reality series CPS the Horror Stories. I'm not an attorney or a social worker, but I am a mom who had CPS steal my children a few years ago. After 2 years of fighting, I did get my kids back, but that does not mean that the battle and fight and struggle is over because of the corruption, traumatic events, and devastation that Child Protective Service causes when they're in your life. So, Valorie, can you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell me where you're from.
Sure. My name is Valorie Katai, was born in Alabama, lived most of my adult life in Arizona. I'm a registered nurse. I was a nurse in the Air Force.
Wow.
My husband is Paul. He's an electrical engineer at Raytheon. And that's it.
Okay, so you live in Arizona now.
Yes.
Do you
We
mind
live
if
in
I
Tucson.
Tucson? Okay, I was gonna ask if you mind if I knew where, just because I love Arizona and I want to live there.
Well, you're always welcome. I help you in any way possible.
So, tell me, you already mentioned that this is about a grandchild. Did you have custody of him?
No, but my son, my adult son, and his girlfriend and the baby lived with us since birth. There was some health issues with my son's girlfriend, and we moved him in with us so we could help take care of the baby. And we had been taking care of the baby since, actually, I helped take care of him in the NICU. He was in the NICU for several days after his birth. And of course, me being a nurse, I stayed with him day and night. Didn't let that baby out of my sight. And he came home. They lived with us, and my husband and I, we love him more than words.
How old is he now?
Taking care of him since he was born. He is 13 months old now. We took him to all his doctor's appointments. We paid for everything for him. They lived here. He's just a really, really happy baby. He, hate to say had it made, but he's our only grandchild. And of course, we doted on him. We love him. It's just really, really difficult because we didn't do anything wrong. We have, the baby is well loved. He's never been abused. He's had on my dad. And there was absolutely no reason to have that baby. It was done out of retaliation, in our opinion.
Can you tell me, have any of you dealt with CPS prior to this or no?
No, my husband and I hadn't, because of a health issue my daughter-in-law, my son's girlfriend had, CPS had to come and approve our house, which they did. In fact, a social worker, we documented everything she said, just in case something were to come back or something. And I can't go into her health issues, but she had some health issues, and so CPS wanted to come and approve the house to make sure it was okay. So they did and said, wow, this is a beautiful house. We think that you and your wife are going to be excellent primary caregivers for the baby. And went along until very happily until September 30th. And our son and his girlfriend got into an argument. And then my son said, oh, he wanted to kill himself. So my husband called 911. And the police department came out, and we thought they might send an ambulance or something. It was very late at night, so, and I was taking care of the baby, so I could not leave and take him to the hospital, or I could not leave the baby. You know, the baby's safety to me was first. My husband was taking care of our son. So when he called 911, we kind of thought an ambulance might come or something. We were very naive. And the police came and took him to jail. And so they released him the next day. And on that day, I had to take my grandson to Chandler for an appointment to see the doctor, because this doctor specialized in what I needed to have done for Rowan that particular day. So I drove him up to Chandler. We had a great time. He took care of my grandson. Everything was copacetic. When we got home, my son's girlfriend said, "Oh, I think CPS came." And I was like, "CPS? What are they coming here for? Nobody here needs CPS."
Is this the first interaction that you've had with them, or is this?
It was the first interaction. Actually, my daughter-in-law, my son's girlfriend, I'm sorry, I keep calling her my daughter-in-law, but I saw her as that. She found the card at the door. She had been sleeping, wasn't feeling well. She had been sick, so she found a card at the door and laid it on the kitchen counter. I really didn't pay it much attention. So it wasn't until October the 5th that they came knocking at the door. And I answered the door, and I pretty much told them they weren't needed there, that we didn't need them, and that the baby was fine, and there was absolutely no need for their intervention. And she said that the officer, well, I asked her what the complaint was, and she said, the officer said that your house has a lot of clutter. And she said that could be considered neglect. And I said, well, if you want to call tons of baby toys all over our house, I mean, tons of toys, we spoil them. Why wouldn't we? That's really all we had over the house. We had a couple of boxes. We were moving at the time, so we had a couple of boxes that we were giving to the Goodwill, and we would throw things in there as we would pack things up and put them in the Goodwill box. And that was by the door. I explained that to her. I went and got the baby. The baby was cuddling with me. He was happy. He was loving on me like he always does, because I took care of him all the time. And he's just a really happy baby, truly. And she asked if she could come in the house, and I said, no, I'm going to invoke my constitutional rights. I said, no, there's no need for you to come into my house. I don't let strangers in my house. And she said, after the third time, her face got real red. I mean, I could tell she was very angry at the time. And she said, well, I guess then I might have to come back and take the baby. I was shocked. I was like, you see, this baby has never been yelled at, has never been scolded, had never been spanked, had never even had a voice raised to him. Lo and behold, 6 hours later, she showed up at our house with a police officer and took the baby with him screaming and clinging onto me. It was the most traumatic thing. Sorry.
It sounds like it was a threat. It didn't sound like, it sounded like it was an ultimatum. If you don't let me in, I'm taking the baby.
It was an ultimatum. And when they came back that night to take him, I was fit to be tied. And yes, I had a few choice words for her at that time. You better believe I did.
I'm sure.
But she stole my grandson, and we haven't seen him since.
Okay. You said that somebody said that your house was perfect. Who said that? When and when?
It was a CPS employee, but the day before we brought the baby home from the hospital, they had to come and approve the house. And she said, I have no worries about you guys being Rowan's primary caregiver. She said, the house is beautiful. It overlooks the city of Tucson. We sit kind of at the edge of the desert on a mountain. We have a pool in the backyard and a big table that we can sit on this table and just, have a glass of wine or whatever. It overlooks the entire city of Tucson. She said, this is stunningly beautiful. And then less than a year later, no, a little more than a year later, they came and took the baby away from our house. He had never been abused. The pediatrician even stood up for me. She had the social worker call CPS. The pediatrician, even when I would just take Rowan in for his well baby checks, or if he wasn't feeling well, she'd say, I'm so glad the baby has you. I'm so glad you're in this baby's life. She said, I would be concerned otherwise. So I thought that was a big compliment, and I appreciated her doing
absolutely. Hold on just a second, because obviously it's emotional for you, but I know that feeling. It's a trigger for me. Having your children holding your neck, your clothes, and somebody else pulling them off of you and taking them, and you have no idea anything.
How they can get away with it. Gotta stop. We are trying to find out the discovery of the case and figure out kind of who did what. And we want to, we haven't been allowed to see the baby.
Has the parents been able to see him?
Our son has not been able to see him, no. He is the father of the baby, and everything just drags on and on and on. And
have you had a court hearing?
We're not allowed to attend the court hearings.
Because you're not guardian?
Yes, and because they don't want us there also, because I think that we are seen as somewhat
of a threat.
Yes. We're not perfect, but neither one of us have ever been in jail. We pay our taxes. We attend temple. I mean, we try to do things right and legally, and we try to be good people. And I'm just shocked that this can go on in America. I'm shocked.
It happens all the time. And what's so unfortunate is, number one, you guys seem to be an upstanding family. You've got your stuff together. You have a home. You have amazing jobs. You have everything that you need to be able to provide for this baby. And yet, some person who has no clue who you are, knows nothing about your life, got angry that you chose to exercise your rights and decided to use their authoritative power, which they don't even have legally. Were you served a warrant? Were you given any paperwork?
No.
Nothing.
No, only the complaint that said neglect. And from everything I've learned, neglect is not precipitant to the baby's death, severe danger.
Right.
I'm pretty sure they have to prove that the baby was in severe danger, and he was not in any danger ever. I would protect that baby to the end. No way was that baby ever in danger. We just are very protective. I was protective of my son, and I'm protective of his son. No imminent danger.
I wanted to look up the types of neglect. Just for a record, So number one, it says that neglect, the definition is fail to care for properly. That I don't like that definition, because anybody can come in and say, well, my reason, or my definition of care for properly is this. Are you still here, Valorie?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Your camera shut off. There you are.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So it says there's 4 types of neglect. Physical neglect, which is a child's basic needs such as food, clothing, shelter, that are not met and aren't properly supervised or kept safe. Educational neglect, which it doesn't sound like he needed at the moment, and it says a parent doesn't ensure their child's given an education. Emotional neglect, which that obviously does not sound either, because you guys were cuddling and loving on each other, and that's a big part of emotional caring for. And then medical neglect, and you just said that you took him to the doctor, and you're a nurse.
And they're the ones that missed the doctor's appointment.
Let me read what you're saying over here on the thing. Yes, nothing assigned by a judge. And so it was illegal, absolutely, for them to have taken the child without a warrant and the child being in imminent danger. So you're completely correct on that. But the power, and you know what blows me away that I don't understand is how they're able, the police officer, if I was a police officer and I go to a home with CPS and they don't have reason to take the child, I would be so furious and blown away at the act of that social worker. I would say something, I mean, I know people don't want to get involved, but let's see. Yep, sad that we have to fear our own government. No, don't apologize for talking a lot. I enjoy it. Okay, they're coming back. Let's see here.
Oh, I'm going to get back to that. I haven't checked out yet. I'm going to do this and then I'll go back and check out. And then, of course, I never do. So.
Yep. Okay, so let's see. Where were we? Hold on. Let me think really fast. I'm thinking. Sorry.
I think we were at the door when they came and took the baby and drove off with the baby to Phoenix.
That's right. Yes. So you said, and can you tell us how far that distance is?
Oh, it's about 150 miles, I think. Not exaggerating. They took him to a foster care place in Phoenix. He had never, ever been away from me. Never. He was always with me, and he was crying so hard and reaching for me, and it was horrible. I had a few choice words for her that evening, and I don't take it back. I just don't. Because at that point, what did it matter? She already had my grandson. So, and that was the last time we saw him, when they were putting him in the car. All the neighbors were out looking, and I thought, wow, if this goes on much longer, somebody's going to go pass popcorn out or something, It was just the worst thing I've ever seen, the most traumatic thing I've ever been through. And what hurts me the most is that my grandson was crying so hard for me, and even CPS admitted that he cried for several days and had trouble adjusting. We haven't seen him since. That was October the 5th.
Now, did and you said that your son and his girlfriend, the mom, have not been able to see him either.
They told the child's mother if she would leave here and go live with her 80-something-year-old grandparents, that they would give her back the baby. So she had to move to Chandler, or Gilbert, actually, right beside Chandler, about 120 miles from here, something like that, to live with her grandparents. And she did get custody back. They will allow her no communication with us at all. So we've not been able to talk to our grandson. And they also, I wrote a few letters. I wrote a letter to the ombudsman, and, I've been doing what we can do on our end. My husband and I both have, and they're sharing those letters with my son's girlfriend. And I think that's wildly inappropriate. They're trying to communicate. They're trying to create a problem between us. And we just didn't want any division between us. That's our grandson, and we feel like we should have every right to be able to see him and talk to him. My husband and I did nothing wrong. I'm not sure. I think they gave her custody out of retaliation towards my husband and me. My husband also, he was working from home the day that they came to interview us, and he also said, "I'm sorry, I'm trying to work in there." He was working from home due to COVID, and he came to the door. He heard all the commotion at the door and said, "I'm sorry, I'm trying to work in here." He said, "I cannot allow you in my house right now." They weren't wearing masks or anything. And I think she was taken aback by that. And he's a very smart man, obviously. And I think they were intimidated by that. I got no use for him. I don't. I think.
Okay, hold on, because I have a little bit of confusion. You said they gave who custody?
My son's girlfriend. And
so does she have the baby now?
She has the baby, but she has to live in Gilbert with her 80-something-year-old grandparents who cannot help her with the baby. So I'm kind of sorry.
No, I apologize for interrupting. And your son and you guys cannot see the baby?
No, we have not been able to see the baby or talk to him even.
Is the mother treating you guys differently now? Like, not?
Yes, yeah, she is. She's not really communicating with us anymore. Apparently she's been told by CPS not to communicate with us. And while we're not following their rules, why would we at this point? She doesn't communicate at all with us. We are not sent pictures. She got a restraining order against my son, but yet she's been communicating with him here and there, asking, things like, is the paternity test completed, that sort of thing. So we're just kind of confused. It seems like it's okay to make the rules they feel are okay, but when it comes to us, we feel like our civil rights have been trampled on in a big way.
Have you looked into your grandparent rights as the grandparents?
We are looking into that. My husband has been talking to an attorney, and he actually thinks that we probably can sue them in civil court. But the first thing we want to take care of is, like you just said, grandparent rights, and we want to be able to see our grandson.
Is your son and her, are they no longer together?
No, they're not really together, no. No.
And did that happen due back to that fight that they had? Is that when they split up? Or was it after she was able to get the baby?
It was after she was able to get the baby. We know pretty much that it was CPS that was telling her not to communicate with us. And they have her so afraid and so intimidated that, you know, she'll do whatever is necessary to keep the baby, but she still, and I don't understand this at all, but she still doesn't have custody of the baby. The baby's still in CPS custody. I don't understand that, but I guess they're letting the baby stay with her.
It means
But
that there is still a current open case, and the baby, in a way, is under guardianship of the state, and they're still involved making sure that they have properly placed the child, in a safe, secure home. What blows me away in this case is that they took the baby from you guys, including the father, but it doesn't sound like there's a case plan or anything open to where they're even requesting you guys to jump through any type of hoops to be able to be in the baby's life, correct?
no, that we've had nothing at all. The only thing that we've had, that my son has had done, was he was assigned an attorney, and he's had the paternity test, for which we have to drive an hour each way. And every time we went to take the paternity test, we were told that the CPS workers still hadn't entered it in the computer. So we spent a total of 8 hours, because we went up there 4 times trying to get his paternity test. And finally, on last Thursday, I think it was, I took him an hour each way, and they were just laughing at the paternity test office. They're like, CPS does this to people all the time. They are so incompetent. And so I said, I'm not leaving until we get this paternity test. So he called his worker. She didn't answer. And then I said, well, I'm going to call until I get an answer. If I have to call her supervisor, we're not leaving without this paternity test. Well, my son had a meeting today. It was some sort of arbitration meeting. I didn't even know about it until the last minute. But of course, they didn't even think to have the paternity test results ready for this. Nobody had called prior to. Nobody was prepared. I mean, if I were a nurse and did my business like this, yeah, I'd be sued. It wouldn't work very well.
They don't care. This is an unfortunate situation that actually attorney Vince Davis and I on the radio have been talking about, is when a family member or friend is given custody or guardianship of a child to raise, like you, but there isn't anything legally
Binding.
that states that that you are now the guardian. And so then when CPS gets involved, you can't even fight to get the child back or see them or be in their life. And if they take, from what I know, so please don't quote me on this, because I'm not in your state, and again, I'm not an attorney, but from what I've heard is you have grandparent rights up until if your son loses his rights. So if your son were to lose his rights, you would no longer have rights either.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Actually, it really does.
But it doesn't to me. It doesn't to me, because you're still a grandparent.
And we still love him, and we still are the ones that raised him, took care of him.
Yeah. And, because we are on live, there's somebody that commented and said, don't don't be upset with your daughter-in-law or whatever title she holds to you because she's scared
Yeah.
and stuff. And I get that. I do get that. But, and maybe because I've gone through so much, you know, my opinion is out of like frustration. Like, I have health issues. I'm not sure, you said you follow me, so I don't know how well you know about me personally, but I have major health issues. And if I had somebody who not only took me in, but then also was taking care of my child, I would stand, you know, I mean, I would be there with them, I guess. Unless I know for a fact they did something to hurt my child.
Well, she knows we didn't, but she doesn't want her to be separated from her baby. So she's with her grandparents who, like I said, they're in their 80s and they can't even pick up a diaper bag. I mean, they can't help her. So I can only hope she's doing okay with the baby. About as good as it gets, I guess. This is a sad situation.
It really
It
is.
really is. Because that little innocent little baby is being withheld from a family that loves him endlessly.
Does your son's attorney is court appointed?
Yes.
Is there any way that you guys are able to hire an attorney for him?
I think my husband's looking for one because this is just going on too long. It's just going on way longer than it should. And we feel like every day is detrimental to our grandson.
Absolutely, it is. You're right. My next question would be, are they trying to hold against the fight because you guys called 911? Are they calling that domestic violence?
I think so. There was some question as to what went on. They both told us that nothing like that happened. I don't even know where that came from. Both of them, I'll put it like this, they have not been perfect. And yeah, both of them have had issues. I'm sorry to say, they've both been in jail, both of them. So really, it's kind of equal as far as their histories go. And that's exactly why my husband and I wanted them to live with us, and we invited her to live with us. That was our grandchild, you know, so we wanted to take care of her too, and we did. We were there during his delivery. We bought her clothes. I mean, whatever she needed, her needs were met at our home. Sad.
Yeah, it really is. It makes me, it's devastating.
And it's hard to believe this is going on right here in the United States of America. And we
No,
feel like,
it goes on around the world. This is a worldly problem, not a one country problem.
that's really devastating. It is.
What I don't and that's when, you know, that kind of actually just hit me, because when people talk about the corruption and taking down this department, it makes me wonder, how are we going to do that when it's a worldly problem?
And there's too much money. There's so much money involved, and nobody holds them accountable. How do you hold them accountable? That's what we want to know is, and why aren't they held accountable? I know as a nurse, I'm held accountable.
There is no accountability.
There's not, and that's wrong.
And you have these people that are, you know, in supervised positions with CPS that are so aware of what they're doing, and that makes me sick.
They look the other way. Everybody looks the other way. Have you, are you familiar with, can I say an attorney's name?
Is it in a positive way?
Oh, yes, very much so.
Go ahead.
He sued LA, County of LA, I believe it is, DCFS or whatever they call it there. And he won a $6.1 million verdict for his client who, if you want to see some really good depositions, his name is Sean McMillan.
Yes, from San Diego.
Yes, amazing. And he's done a few cases in Arizona as well. And he puts him on the spot. They don't want to see him coming, I'm pretty sure.
Yep, I know. There's very few attorneys like him in the US that I've heard of that fight the way that he does. My attorney being one of them, who does it as well. And, you know, they know each other because my attorney is in Los Angeles and Sean is in San Diego.
Yes, I like your attorney as well. He is the calmest attorney I've ever seen. And I even commented on that on Facebook one day. I'm like, he just says things so calmly. I'm so emotional. He's so calm. It's like he just almost relaxes you.
Yes. Yes. He is. It's quite interesting when we're on the radio together on Saturday nights, and you know, people are freaking out, and he just can bring them down so evenly. It's amazing.
Yeah, he does. He does. He's very good, I think.
So man, I'm trying to just think, like, what else. I get so agitated when there's just nothing that we can do. And you would just think that you would have kind of like if two people are living together, what is that? They for so many years they become
common law.
Yeah. You would think that if you've raised a child that you would have some type of, you know, custody over.
Right. Well, hopefully, I don't know what we're going to do to.
You know, the one positive thing that I see here is the fact that your son still has a chance to get some kind of custody and keep his rights.
We're hoping. We're hoping. I know I have a bad attitude, but I don't trust CPS with anything. But his lawyer's pretty good, and he likes him, and he seems to be doing Matthew justice. Sorry.
No, that's okay. You can say your son's name, just not the baby's name. And I'm trying to think also about, you know, my attorney Vince. He says when there's something you don't like, you file this petition. It's called a 388 to make a change. But it's what I've heard of it typically being used for is Like if they're in foster care and you want them put with family or whatever, you don't really want to make a motion or something to take him from his mom and then put him back in foster care.
No.
But, and I can't think of anything else that you would want to make a change except for getting your son visitation and you guys. Have you, man, now that the mom has, in a sense, stepped up to be the mom, I highly doubt that they would let you fight for custody also. Because she's the mom. Unless she does something to screw it up.
I think ultimately, we want to be able to have him in our lives. And I know I took better care of him. I mean, I did. I took care of him all day from about 4 o'clock in the morning till almost bedtime. I gave him 3 meals a day. I changed him. I gave him his baths, everything. So I don't know how that's being done now, but I trust that it's getting done. And we would just like to have both of them in our lives. I don't hold any harm for my son's ex-girlfriend. I don't. I really don't. It's not even about her anyways. This is only about our grandson. That's
right.
And we'd like them to just have some harmony between them and move on about our lives.
And maybe those are some things that the attorney can request in court, like family counseling, which that should probably happen anyways, and see if there can be some type of reconciliation to be able to co-parent and raise this baby together, even if they're not living together, but to all be in his life.
I think it's the best thing for him because he was very happy before. Like I said, he'd never been scolded, never been yelled at, never gotten his hand spanked, nothing, it's nothing but love.
Can I ask you a question? Since this has been happening, because you said that your neighbors and everybody watched, and I'm sure you have other family members that are aware of what's happened, have you been treated any differently?
I'll have to say that the neighbors came over and offered support.
Oh.
And they also said that they didn't like what happened and that they saw it. And one of our neighbors said, I always saw your wife in the pool with the baby every day during the summer. And we know how she talked to him, and it was all, it was very positive, and she did a good job. And then there's a little store here in our community that I would take the baby to get ice cream or, a cookie or something. And all the little ladies that worked in the store would always say, hi, baby, so-and-so, and they miss him. And they've been I have had so much support. I can't believe it, but what I really want is my baby.
I do think that that's amazing that you have had support, because I would say 99% of the people that I interview, including myself, one thing that we all struggled with was being attacked in a way, and no support, and being told, well, CPS doesn't just take your kids for no reason. You had to have done something. And the judgment that comes is horrific. Have you asked for people to write letters?
No, but a couple of people have that gentleman that lives next door to us, he has offered to write a letter if we want him to. And of course, the ladies at the store that, knew the baby every day, just loved him. They have all said that they would write a letter as well.
Sorry, I apologize to interrupt you. I would totally start building a file of that. Start collecting letters, start collecting for not just you and your husband, but for your son as well, for anybody who knows him. Start getting people that can, oh my gosh, what's the word?
Can back me up or validate me.
Validate. Did you say that? Validate your character. I would do that and just start building a portfolio. And I would also, I'm just trying to think, because see, if the baby was in foster care, and let's say that the reason that they took the baby, well, it is the reason, was the domestic violence call. If it was an issue to have your son and his girlfriend living with you, if they left, you could have potentially got the baby back and out of foster care. But again, because the baby's with the mom, I can't think of anything else at the moment that can be done for you to see him right now. And that makes me sad,
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, we can't think of anything either. And most of the attorneys, they're thinking long term. But one thing I was going to tell you is we have found a lot of support online, a lot. And there is a family advocacy group that has been helping us. I don't know if you ever heard of the website Out for Justice. They've been an incredible support to us and kind of guiding us like you are doing.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be praying for you guys. And
thank you.
Just since you know about the radio show, I would definitely encourage you to call in this. I know that this weekend it's going to be on a different time or something. I'm not really sure. But stick to our page and we'll update you guys as far as when we'll have this episode coming up. But call us, and I'd like you to talk to my attorney and see if there's anything that he can suggest, because he's very wise and
yes.
He gives that advice out. So if you could do that, that would be awesome.
Thank you. We will. And I do get the little notifications, inviting me to listen. I always listen in. I've learned something on every single show that you guys have had. I learned something new every time. So I knew nothing about the law, nothing about the law until this.
Yep.
I still don't know very much. I don't want you to think otherwise. I certainly don't know, but
I understand. I get
Thank you very much.
So, okay, my last question for you would be, is there anything that you would tell people that are watching right now that have either gone through this or don't know anything about it? What would you say?
From everything I've heard and read, I learned this from Vince. Don't talk to social services. Do not talk to CPS without an attorney present. Just don't do it. Nothing good will come of it.
You're right. You're so right.
It will go all bad for you. It will get twisted around and tall tales, and no. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Because they can come and take your kids just like that.
Yep. Well, I want to say thank you for coming on and sharing. And I'd like you to, let's schedule another interview in a couple months to update everybody on what's happening on your case.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having us. And I'll be praying for everybody out there.
Thank you. Hold on one